Well, it's about damn time. Okay, so we're trying a bit of a different angle. Recording this about 3 weeks after TennoCon, the week after DevStream 129. Hopefully I got that right this time. And this is just before the last piece of analysis I wanted to do for TennoCon 2019. I know, I'm super behind on it. It's been, you know, I work a full-time job. I've got a lot of things going on in life, so I'm just trying to get a channel back up and running, and even one of my studio camera lights is out. So yeah, I'm just trying to get things back up and running, creating graphics. I have some really cool new show ideas that I'm trying to get up and running, all while just being busy. And yeah, this is here because the purpose of getting the TennoCon 2019 analysis out before the first dev stream after was to kind of lay out, you know, kind of thoughts and predictions before the devs kind of have the opportunity to, you know, prove me wrong, which they did. So for those who don't know, Railjack, it sounds like we're going to be getting roughly like 1/8 or 1/6 of Railjack in the fall, even before the new war. And that I did not see coming. Yeah, so it was my prediction that we wouldn't be seeing. Maybe we would see a chunk of Railjack with the new war. It preceding the new war seems like a smart move. And that's something, you know, that you'll see in this video coming up as I analyze Railjack and break it down and break all the layers apart. I don't think Railjack will just be coming on its own, just kind of there. My bet would be that so Gauze and Grendel are going to be a pair of Warframes actually shipped together. The first time ever we're getting 2 Warframes at the same time, besides the launch, which technically we've never launched. We're still in beta. Ramble Entertainment. So yeah, super interesting. I don't know if we'll be seeing the VIP system this year then. That's a big prediction I'd lay out in the video, but yeah, we'll be seeing a portion of Railjack this year. That's crazy. And then the new war. I think that just about taps us out for the rest of the year. So most of my predictions get shot to shit, but that's okay. There's a lot of great analysis in here breaking down the look of the heliosphere, why the particular planets that they showed off are involved. Just a lot to talk about, as always. So I really hope you guys still enjoy. I have 3 more pieces of TennoCon analysis to come, and they'll start to include more of what the devs slowly drip feed us, more things about the Plains of Duviri, more things about the new intro quest, new intro cinematic. So we're going to break those down. And yes, that 3 videos. The third will be kind of more of an in-depth analysis of what Railjack will entail. So let's go ahead and finally get to the video. Sorry for the wait. Thanks for understanding. Do good things out there, Tenno.
Context and in a way that we haven't
All
seen
right.
in a lot of games.
So we finally get into the avid shitting bird is gone, so he ate and he's up in his cage now. So we finally get to one of the things that I would say we're almost guaranteed to see this year. One of two potential things. First, the upgraded orbiter, the aesthetic upgrade. The reason I think this is going to be this year, even new engine aside, is because there's no guarantee that it has to be tethered to the new rendering and graphics engine. It's likely just they've even said how the new technology can go across all of the game, and it doesn't require upgrades to the tile sets or any of the textures or anything. So I think one of the things we will definitely see this year is our upgraded orbiters. Finally, some headspace. I also think it is possible that we will be, and the bird's crying. He wants to come down here. He wants to be on camera. I think it's possible we will also be seeing the new engine. Obviously, this will mostly affect PC players. They had talked about for the longest time not just upgrades to PC for 4K, but upgrades for PS Pros, your Xbox. What is it? It's not the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X. They had talked about upgrades for those systems because they have more powerful hardware inside them. It wouldn't shock me if we saw such things, especially since we're, even on consoles, starting to get sliders of our own. We're not getting a more powerful Switch anytime soon. It sounds like we're getting the Switch Lite. They are talking about getting a Switch processor upgrade. On the software side, if I wasn't mistaken from what I heard. I don't pay too much attention to actually what's going on in the console industry anymore, because I'm just Warframe a lot of the time, and just what appeals to me is most often what's not in the mainstream anymore. So I don't know. We'll find out what happens on the Switch. Honestly, I got this bad boy just for the hope that we'll have cross-save soon. I was really hoping that was going to be another TennoCon announcement too. I think that it's possible we will get the dry dock. So when the year launched, we had the initial dev stream that created the whiteboard. Plains of Duviri was on there as a concept of, this is what we'll start talking about towards the end of the year. They had even... I need a new surge protector. They had even talked about halfway through the year that they were just like, why did we put that on there? They forgot that they said that they're only going to start talking about it conceptually. So I don't know if we're going to get the dry... So here's where I was heading towards, because Ramble Entertainment... I think they initially said that the new war would come with a segment of Railjack, and then we would get the full flushed-out Railjack later in the year, towards the end of the year. Obviously, we're not getting Railjack. I think that writing is on the wall. That will be next year, probably the outset of the year. My guess is March or April. I know, it's a bit of a ways to wait. But the thing is, we need to fill in the wait that's right now until the new war. And I think a segment of Railjack will still come with the new war, or at least that's definitely a personal hope. I don't know if the dry dock comes with it. The reason I think a segment of Railjack comes with the new war is because, much like the PC test bed, they also just use all platforms as a test bed for things in development. Like, say for instance... crap, I lost my example. New game modes that eventually have things that translate into other game modes. Disruption is a perfect example of a test bed, because, all right, we need to restructure our reward tiers. We make a game mode, let's see if the game mode's even popular to start with, and we put a new reward structure in it. We use old rewards, but new structure, and it's based on how a team performs. And it worked. And it's very well received, even though it doesn't give it much of anything. It's very well received. And now we've even seen that reflected in interviews that a lot of that structure is going to be transferred into old elements and game modes of the game. So Railjack is big. It's not just in the size of it, but in the fact that of how it will change the game. And what Warframe has shown us is slow rolling is often a very good decision for them. It very often pays off to roll something out slowly, and much like Melee 3.0, there's the example I was looking for. They roll out pieces of it, see how it works within their test bed, which is their own audience, and then they roll out more of it, and more of it, and more of it. And I think that the Railjacks will be something that we get this year. To what extent is a great question. So it seems we're going to have the sentient tile set parked just off of Venus. At first I was thinking it might be Mercury, but it seems like it'll be Venus, mostly because of what's coming up here, where they're where they show the Railjack map. There are only 5 tile sets, and a 6th one for the dry dock, if I'm not mistaken. We'll get to it. I think they want to basically it might be our means to getting to the sentient tile set, and that might be the extent of it, where basically we get Railjack, we get 1 tile set, and then you use the Railjack to maneuver amongst that tile set, and you go fight the sentients. It would likely help their development process a lot going into the new year for the rest of Railjack, because there's a lot of overlapping systems within it. Not just Squad Link, not just Archwing, not just the VIP system. It's then you seem to have things of like spatial storms, the void storms, which is it going to be that void storms are tied to the void fissures, that void storms are in areas and on particular tiles of the Railjack map, because the Railjack map isn't just you select a planet, you go to the planet. And we'll see here in a second when they pull up the heliosphere. The heliosphere had like a dozen locations to go to. It's like we're getting 6 entirely new tile sets, which is incredibly impressive. I'm gonna go get my bird. So then, look who's back. It's like he's a spoiled little child. So then we get to view the new, I mean, it hasn't changed that much. It used to be there was a giant kind of area in the center of arriving in the Railjack that was also manned by sentinels and things like that. They've replaced the sentinels with a civilian crew, really cool NPC crew that will apparently be able to hire and fire at will. And it looks like a lot of the structure has stayed the same, but what is just excessively impressive about the Railjack is how large it is now. It just that, hey, I really hope Steve voices that guy. I really hope Steve voices that, hey, hello, hi, how are you? I that's what I want to hear out of that NPC. There's so much in this ship, and I think that a lot of this ship also speaks to what Steve alludes to in the outset of this demo. Be nice. He talks about connecting the whole, and that's another thing that that's another thing, well, right here, we'll go ahead and pause, and I'll get back to that point. But right here, we get to see all of our tile sets that they have in production. So we can even assume that not all of these are coming with the full implementation of Railjack. I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see Pluto or Neptune. And we'll probably see Venus and Earth and Jupiter and the heliosphere. So those 4 are my guess, and here's why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets, 6. So I was wrong. It's 6 tile sets and the dry dock. Dry dock's done, so fine. We'll get the dry dock. That obviously makes sense. Jupiter makes sense because he's mimicking me coughing. Anyway, so Jupiter's the newest reworked tile set. One of the reasons I think Jupiter is one of the big reasons I think all of these planets work is because they each have an open and available tile for a Railjack to spawn in. For all of them have drop ships and things like that, where you'll be able to call in a Railjack and take off, go do missions in space, and come back to these particular planets. The ones that we don't have are pretty obvious. The ones that are the Grimnir asteroids, the Corpus ship tile sets, the infested ship tile sets, the Void, and all of that makes sense because these already have some infrastructure in place for large ships to be implemented. Come here. And so Neptune and Pluto, the only reason I would say those get left out is because I think they would probably work better in a rework. Earth and Jupiter have been reworked. They've both been remastered as far as the tiles, the planes, everything they have. Venus works because Fortuna. It makes complete sense. We'll likely have Nephanio attacking there or some kind of Corpus enemy. It might even be an event. But those 3, I think, are the mainstay and the heliosphere. That's 4 tiles. And here's why. Here's why I keep saying tiles. Entire map sets. Because when they click on the heliosphere,
some lost technology in the heliosphere.
Look at all of this. These might be each individual maps that we're loaded into. It might be one large map that we navigate across. This is why, as I said when I started this video, this was a great bet to lose. I honestly would have thought that we were getting kind of a half-finished Railjack when we get Railjack, because I thought, you know, like, oh, okay, they'll have like 3 basic tile sets that they'll put across all the planets, and I had predicted that Railjack will likely replace load screens, because if you haven't noticed, within the past 6 months, load screens have really kind of taken a crap. They don't look very good. It looks like they're back to basics. And I was like, I wonder if that, you know, that I forget when Steve alluded to it, but he was just like, Railjack's more than just, you know, like a new like thing to do. It's more than a new system. It's like, we want it to kind of be the in-between between missions, between load screens. And he talked about replacing load screens. And I was like, I wonder if they're replacing load screens. And this is something I think he forgot to touch on in the demo, where and we'll get to it here in a second. Notice how going into on foot and doing a mission, and they come back and it says mission complete, and they're just back in the Railjack. And they just go on to the next mission. And the load screen is basically the warp, or the what does Cephalon Badass call it? His name is Cephalon Badass. It's not Cephalon Psi, it's Cephalon Badass. And so now with volume, Cephalon Badass refers to what they use to travel between worlds. And I want to hear it. I just want to know what they refer to it as. I want the terminology already. Such a cool screen here. And I think that might be part of the reason why we don't get translating. We get translated through space. Cool. And I think this might be part of the reason we don't get the dry dock. That moment there where you're taking off from the dry dock for the first time is so cool and so signature of Warframe Imperium. And I think that's why you'll be able to board your Railjack. Wow, I broke there for a second. You'll be able to board your Railjack. You'll be able to customize it on board, but the dry dock will be that Warframe Empyrean moment. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, you look at this space and they're making something so massive here, which is why we're not seeing it. And I think that there are also some cool additions to the concept of like creating a feedback loop of how you power up your weapons for Railjack combat. It's not going to be mods. It's not going to be you achieve this utmost here. It's you go get these resources. You use those resources to power the Railjack up for particular missions. And then you go get more resources to power it up for particular missions. I'm not coughing, bro. This was something I rolled my eyes at, unfortunately. I know. I looked at this and I thought to myself, oh no, more new resources. And to pump the brakes for a second as they just kind of pick up some resources and raid this derelict Orokin structure. With Fortuna, they did better at including resources from off of the island, as Steve referred to it. You would be able to bring your plethora of resources and credits, trade them in at Finger, and he would be able to give you things to use in Fortuna. You would get blueprints that would use more old resources for building kit guns, for building MOA parts. You weren't using all of the old resources, you were using a lot of the new Fortuna resources. It's just a thing of, let's not overdo the usage of a lot of the new resources. Let's maybe get it to like 40% of our old resources that we already have stocked up and 60% of the new resources. Personally, and obviously a player perspective to where are you going? To a developer perspective, that's probably very player friendly. And, you know, from the development side, from the money making side, you gotta make money. That's the only reason this game has become this big, that we're going to get she's pooping again, that we're going to get spaceships, and then we're going to still be playing the game for free or for pay what you want. And I'm gonna pause again because he pooped. So the resources of the, let's not even call it game mode, of the new persistent system aside, everything here is just super solid, especially from an exploration standpoint. Personally, when the planes came out, I think there were a great many people who just wandered out and just kind of soaked it in. And I think more than even on the planes, that is going to be a thing of Railjack, where you will fly out and just kind of float around in space. And that's going to be so cool. Here, there is something surprisingly divisive. There's been a number of people saying, like, I would never want to play this commander mode. And I'm actually going to click backwards in the video to pull it back up. Where Rebecca is basically providing the team support as a commander, kind of capable of calling out where enemies might be on the map. There could be the potential of needing to get pickups within one of these derelict or even occupied facilities, and then like you could call out a location to your teammates. I'm not sure how many people out there know this, but Railjack is likely only a 3-player system, where it probably will not expand to 4, where basically the computing power of our systems, our PCs, our consoles will be taken up by the Railjack and the Archwings and everything going on in-game itself because of the computing power and graphic power needed. So it will likely be locked at 3 people instead of 4 for at least a bit. We'll find out. They've clearly, very clearly surprised us before. But mission complete, and you're back in the Railjack. And now they're going to go pick another mission. And I think on the 6 locations outside of the heliosphere, the 5 locations that are known planets, I think you're going to be able to pick your mission space too. Oh yeah, Venus is the Corpus cold tile set. That's right. So yeah, you'll be able to land on any of those mission locations, probably using your Railjack. Get dropped off by your Railjack, and then you can just hop back in the Railjack to extract onto the next mission. No load screens. No landing craft. That's amazing. Basically, the load screen, for those that might not like understand the technology here, the loads, you jump into the Railjack, there's a quick load to get back into the Railjack, but the load screen from there is anything outside of the Railjack itself. So the Railjack functions separately from the play space. For those that don't know this, the windows are portals into the play space, and so the play space just needs to be loaded. And then loading into new play spaces is just the translation, as Cephalon Badass called it. The kind of warp, the light speed, the hyperdrive, whatever you want to call it. Translating. See, he's mimicking my cough. The thing that I wanted to touch on with the command and control system is that I don't want it to just be gimmicky, which kind of the air support charges became. It was just like you call in a life support tower, you call in a airstrike that does no damage. The turrets were fine, but it's just something you don't use a lot. You can release the lockdowns on sorties easier with the Lyset, which is probably the best one, because for those that have trouble hacking and you can't use your ciphers on sorties, it's a nice advantage to have. So that's kind of a concern of mine. I don't want that to just become a gimmick that, like, oh, while I'm waiting for my friends, I'll just, kind of do this little gimmicky thing. No, I want it to be effective, kind of controlling, maybe. Like you can deliver these hyper-precise strikes on super powerful enemies, but you can only do one once every so many times. Yeah, it should... The hope is that it's an effective system and not just a gimmick to pass some time for the person as they sit on their Railjack. I still think we haven't seen enough of the Railjack internal systems yet. Those screens keep popping up, and I don't think a lot really happens with them. This was completely mind-blowing. Who knew that we would be GTAing enemy cruisers? That's pretty insane. And there just isn't much to say about that. We're playing GTA in space before GTA could even come up with GTA in space for free. So while they start to assault this enemy capital ship, one of the other things I want to touch on is, like, a personal hope of mine was that we would maybe get bare minimum 2 Railjacks to choose from to start with. You get your first one, the Sigma series, and then there's another one to be built or bought by players. So since we were talking about pricing, these things are probably going to be pricey. I don't see them not being pricey. I imagine, like, some of buying your own Railjack without building it, which would take, probably a full week once you've assembled all the parts. Or maybe they'd be generous and it would take 3 days like a Warframe, but it would take a lot of resources to assemble. I imagine just buying one in the market would be about 900. That's just a personal speculation, but, like, it's like buying a house in any other video game. It's one of the most costly things to buy. So it's personally me setting a benchmark for myself and my own expectations about how these things will play. I definitely think there should be multiple Railjacks. Interesting tidbit here. The VIP system said there was nothing required about the VIP system being a part of Railjack, whether it was before this demo or after this demo. The new war comes in December, at bare minimum for PC. One of the interesting things we've been seeing is this kind of assassin's blade coming out of the player's arm when they take over ships, when they were on the derelict and Wisp hacked that console instead of actually hacking it, she like jacked into it directly. There's a weird noise over there. And that the blade looks like it has an infested tang to it. I'm very curious if that will be given to us by the Helminth Lab, and they also said that the Helminth Lab is getting an upgrade and being redone, and we've never used it. And initially, that space was supposed to be a part of the VIP system they had talked about. So I think that when we start to break down the different pieces of Railjack and what's going to come with it and what's not, and what we might get this year, I think that Railjack will have two segments, a segment that comes with the new war and the master segment, which will be about 80% of the Railjack content that we start with. There's going to be the Void Storms. I think it's possible we'll still have Void Storms, but they'll have nothing to do with the Plains of Deviri yet. The giant Orokin worm dragon thing might kind of be in the translation portals, the wormholes that we use, the jump drive, the hyper light, whatever the hell you want to call it, that we use to get from planet to planet. That Orokin worm might be in there, but it might kind of be like our new Hey Kiddo, where it's just like, we're hinting at something coming, but it's not going to be here for a while, but you'll like it each time you kind of see it, and kind of creeps you out. But obviously we're not getting Plains of Deviri for a long, long time, so that's not going to come with Railjack, it's not coming with New War, none of that content's going to be there. So at the end of this demo, what we see, that shouldn't be there. So my guess is we get the VIP system this year, because they have about 5 months to fill. 2 Warframes isn't exactly going to do it. So I think the VIP system arrives before Railjack, and when Railjack fully arrives, it just adds another layer onto the VIP system itself, where, hey, now that VIP you've been hunting, or, you know, that VIP you just slayed, it could have had a capital ship, or it has a capital ship now. Go have fun. I think that is a lot of the shape of things to come for the remainder of the year. I think we'll get VIP, we'll get Sentient Arms, we'll get the new Sentient tile set, we'll get the new war, we'll get the Sentient faction finally, we'll get Sentient Invasions. I do have a sense that there will be something else in there. It's not just going... and that's a lot. Like, it's been a busy year for Warframe compared to the last 2 years. And it's really set up for a lot. Those past 2 years mattered. They were steps that needed to be taken to get us to here. But I think a huge part of that... Oh, and... the other piece I think we'll also be getting, probably with the VIP system, is Squad Link. I'm going to have a list of tweets from Steve. There's a special time of year every year where DE Steve starts tweeting again. I actually tweeted that at him. And he talked about how Squad Link isn't just, you know, shipped to ground. It isn't just shipped to the rest of the game. It's like... they had to cut a segment of
this is it. We think this is the game.
Of gameplay, because the demo was too long, where they talk about, where he talked about, like, a solo player will be able to help players in a survival, or vice versa, because of Squad Link. Squad Link will be across the entire game. And this comes back to the idea of getting your test beds in place before you release these in large systems. Squad Link should not be tied to Railjack for the reason that they are two extremely large systems.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
So, Squad Link seems like the easier of the two to release to the player base this year. Get it testing so that when Railjack launches, it can be properly used together with Railjack. So it seems like testing it with the VIP system to still help take down your VIPs is a very good testing bed. VIPs get a lot of your veterans back into the game. I mean, I'm a veteran, but I continue to play the game. And I think there's a lot of veterans who would come back just for that content alone. And then if you add Squad Link on top of that, you're going to be revisiting a lot of how the game is played. I think Louis even agrees. So I think that is everything in my head that comes this year. There might be one little thing that we didn't see coming that's on top of all that, but it's not like game changing. It's just like, this is an amazing addition, and they didn't say a thing about it, but like, it's here, and you know, it's awesome. So yeah, I think I don't want Squad Link to be in, I don't want it to be in the item wheel. The reason I don't want it to be in the item wheel is because the item wheel is getting extremely loaded. It's starting to feel like the item wheel should have two separate item wheels. So we should have, to the left, another item wheel. In the center, we have our main gear wheel, and then to the right, we have our emote wheel. It's a lot to be carrying around, and there are becoming a lot of, it is not a hard barrier. Important deployables. Deployables that basically, they feel like necessities. They have to be somewhere near the top, somewhere within one or two, a single rotation of the wheel to locate and deploy. So, yeah, it's the gear wheel's getting complicated, but then where do you put Squad Link? Obviously, our controller players are going to hold us back on the number of things that we can use. So, it's complicated. But the gear wheel shouldn't be the answer to everything. Perhaps Squad Link should just be a toggleable. You have a bad Squad Link day or, mission, and so you decide to shut it off for the rest of the day, come back to it tomorrow. I forgot to turn my Squad Link back on, so you exit your mission and you turn it back on, and cool, that's it. But I don't know if a deployable should always be the answer, because then you're also going into a mission, but you're going into each mission and you always have to deploy your Squad Link? Doesn't entirely sound right. So, I think that is the shape of the year to come. I'm not going to show the Plains of Duviri conclusion here. We'll go ahead and comment on everything moving into the finale of the Railjack segment. And I'll talk about the Plains of Duviri in the next video or the video after that. But yeah, I think that this year basically looks like Grendel and Gauze, Squad Link, with the VIP system before the new war. And then the new war with the sentience, with the sentient tile set, with sentient arms, with sentient weapons. That might be the thing that I'm missing, with the sentient lab for your clan dojo. That's probably it. I mean, I could totally see a sentient lab coming later, but why not? They could easily have a sentient lab for our dojo come with. They've been working on dojo stuff for a long time. It's not like they couldn't have devved it already, where we get, we're having the dry dock made. We're having the VIP, whatever the heck the VIP lounge was supposed to be. When we had been introduced to VIP hunts or whatever they're called, the emissary system or the Nemesis system. That's it. You kind of had like a Nemesis command center, and this was in a dev stream. I think it was last year or the year before that. And it kind of gave you the health of your current Nemesis and how you would be approaching your Nemesis at that time, which are now called Kuvaliches, which they're going to conclude on engaging. Very cool, by the way, that they've managed to include the randomly generated tile set on board a ship that is within a space that clearly doesn't seem procedurally generated. Very cool. Can't believe that this game has been fulfilled in such a way. And then you have the Void Storm rolling in on top of it. That's another segment I think we won't see immediately with Railjack. They talk about, encountering these elements within space. I think it's just going to be plain space when we get into Railjack, and it's not going to be plain in any sense of the word. It'll be filled with asteroids. It'll be filled with with Orokin towers and planetary defense systems, things like that. But it won't be filled with these void storms. It won't be electrical storms, fire storms. Look at that bolt head on his shoulder. That's disgusting and awesome at the same time. And yeah, things like, I think we're going to see the VIP system like that, where we're going to have our enemies. They'll have tiles that will be dedicated to them on planets once they get powerful enough, and we'll have to kind of, in a sense, maybe raid their lairs. That's pretty cool. I would say this still isn't raid tier. It's getting closer, and I think this is that progressive step towards more end-game veterancy content that is ridiculously difficult, but it's been a slow but necessary climb to get us there in the right way. Experimenting with things like, well, let's try giving the players something super tough to kill. Eidolons, Profit Taker. Well, they work, but you can only play Chroma so many times. You can only play Trin, Oberon, Harrow so many times. It gets daunting. One of the reasons I have 2 Chroma Primes, but one of the reasons I don't play with them is because I've had to play with them so many times back to back when we're doing the big end game content. It's not really end game. But I think that a lot of this stuff helps step towards that. I think they learned about how to make the VIPs last longer, the Kuvaliches last longer, because of engagements like the Exploiter and the Lollapalooza. They learned that because they learned how to create invulnerability phases without it being a phase. It's something that demands player engagement that the player has to go through to get to them. They talk about how this VIP has a tech specialty, which means he can siphon shields from the capital ship itself. I think that's something we're going to see. We're going to see multiple specialties, probably 3 specialties to start with from our VIP. Here's the, there's the, well, I guess it isn't very infested. Huh. I thought it was like an infested tendril that hung down and then 2 infested spikes came out of it, but no, that's very Tenno in nature, so we gotta wonder where the heck that comes from other than Assassin's Creed. But yeah, I think there's gonna be 3 tech specialties to start with when we get the VIP system, which this isn't even, I think, a ballsy bet. I think we had a lot of the VIP system in place coming into this demo, and I think we could definitely see it in October, and that's what, it drops with Squad Link, and we have 3 tech specialties, and then as things continue to expand, say we get to Railjack next March or April, or maybe even February if we're lucky. I mean, it does look polished. and they add another tech specialty to our VIPs. And they're not always on a capital ship. Sometimes they just have their ground base, you know, when they get to their top tier. But yeah, it was an insane TennoCon. So let's go ahead and talk about where I've been, and we'll get to the rest of talking about TennoCon in the next 3 videos and really breaking things down and analyzing them. So for those of you who just joined for the first time, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my excessively long talking and analysis. This is how it gets. I am rambly, but I have a lot to say, and I think a lot of it is pertinent to the conversation that is going on out there. Thank you for watching. For those of you that choose to stick around to figure out where the fuck I've been, let's go ahead and get into that. All right. So to finalize this video and talk about where the heck everything has been, I don't know if some of you noticed. Thank you for those of you who stuck around. I lost a bit of weight. Yeah. You know, the thing about being a hobbyist YouTuber is that you don't have the means to provide. And so, you know, you go and get a job, say like at a gym, and suddenly you push yourself to see if, you know, the chronic pain you live with allows you to work out or do anything like that. And so, you know, that takes up a lot of time, especially when you're looking to cut weight and moving between jobs and everything. And it's not that I ever lost interest in this. A lot of it has always been, I've wanted to come back to getting the channel up and running again. But getting it up and running again in my mind was always, let's make, you know, all these nice motion graphics, since I know how to do motion graphics now, 2D motion. And, you know, let's make it look pretty. And I intended to, and I still intend to clean it up. The background Lotus icon image, oh my gosh, that's driving me nuts even right now. But if I didn't talk about this now, in the weeks of making all the motion graphics, making the border more minimalist and nicer, it would have, the time to talk about the most important content in Warframe would have passed. Of course, you can talk about it at any time you want, but let's be honest, part of this hobby is being driven by your likes and your viewership. And so that's been a big part of it. So I'm going to continue to clean up the graphics and the interfaces as this hobby restarts itself. There's going to be 4 episodes to TennoCon. Then I got to make a new intro teaser for State of the Frame. Yes, I'll have to make a new intro teaser to the 88th. That's coming back too. I don't see any reason not to. It's going to be a bit more centered around Riven guns, kind of what to look for in guns that you want to roll, things like that. Because that's my wheelhouse, and you got to cater to what you like. There's going to be 2 other series on top of that. I'm not going to talk about those right now. And then there's going to be a lot of State of the Frame stuff. No more structure of ramble topic, none of that anymore. It's just going to be all just, here's a video, that's it. No more of the kind of chaos that can come around to that. Haha. And yeah, formerly Shadow Knight, now you can change your name on PSN, so I got to get used to that. A friend of mine will be joining me for 5 to 6 episodes of State of the Frame, where we'll actually get to have conversations. This is what I always intended this show to be, where we get to actually sit down and talk and have distinct opinions on the game. And we'll get to talk about all that, and that'll be super nice. So yeah, looking forward to putting out a lot of great content, improving the quality of the shows. This is going to be the highest quality yet. I don't think I'll be able to up the quality without increasing the hardware quality for producing videos now, since I've actually had work in the field of video production, audio production, all that good stuff. And so I think, I might even change how things look here. It's a bit barren behind me compared to what it used to be. I moved things around, so I might change where the camera aligns, might have it face me from a different direction. And yeah, this is exciting. I'm happy to be back. I hope a few of you out there are happy to see me back, and let's make some good content. Let's enjoy more Warframe. Just as always, this channel is never intended to be just a Warframe channel. When I took the first seasonal break, I actually intended to find at least 1 or 2 games that I could persistently play, at least a little here and there, and even eventually maybe come back to. And nothing stuck. Not a thing. I think there could be down the road potential to jump into Monster Hunter World. I'm not sure when. Possibly No Man's Sky. Possibly Minecraft. We'll have to find out. But yeah, you have to enjoy what you do, and there is no one game that's just going to run an entire channel. There just isn't. Not to grow and to answer what everybody wants out of channels they enjoy. More content, more persistently, which means that the creator needs to be able to make it into a revenue source. So I'm going to keep trying to do that. I'm going to keep trying to enjoy everything I do here and make it as enjoyable as possible for you guys. Thank you for coming back. I've been Scott, Chaos SD of Ramble Entertainment. Welcome back to State of the Frame. Oh, and I almost forgot. Get out there, Tenno, and do good things. Welcome back.